The United Kingdom, one of the wealthiest nations in the world. A country that built an empire, pioneered the Industrial Revolution, and shaped global trade, politics, and finance. Yet today, beneath the shine of skyscrapers and billion-pound industries, millions of people are struggling to get by. This is the story of modern poverty in the UK, how wealth and hardship have been built side by side. Let's start with the image many people have of the UK. London's financial district, international investors, world-class universities, and a strong currency. It's easy to imagine a nation of prosperity. But just a few streets away from those symbols of wealth, food banks are seeing record numbers of visitors. Families are skipping meals, parents are working multiple jobs, and pensioners are choosing between heating and eating. This contrast, this uneasy coexistence defines what modern British poverty looks like. The UK is not a poor country. Its GDP ranks among the highest globally. But the problem is how that wealth is distributed, and how the structures of housing, work, and welfare have evolved in ways that leave millions behind. Over the last few decades, inequality has deepened. The gap between the richest and the poorest has widened, and the cost of living has outpaced wage growth for many working people. For a long time, poverty in Britain was imagined as something that affected the unemployed. But that's no longer the case. Today, the majority of people living in poverty are in working households. They have jobs, sometimes 2 or 3, but those jobs often don't pay enough to cover the basics: rent, bills, transport, food. This phenomenon has been called in-work poverty, and it's one of the clearest signs of how the economic model has shifted. Work doesn't always guarantee security anymore. One of the biggest factors driving modern poverty is housing. The UK has one of the most expensive housing markets in the world relative to income. Home ownership, once a cornerstone of the British dream, is now out of reach for millions of young people. Renting, meanwhile, has become increasingly unaffordable, with rent taking up huge portions of income, especially in cities. Many families spend over half their earnings just keeping a roof over their heads. And because of that, even with full-time jobs, there's often not enough left for everything else. Energy and food costs have also risen sharply. The cost of living crisis has turned what used to be basic necessities into sources of anxiety. Supermarket prices have climbed, electricity and gas bills have soared, and inflation has eroded the value of savings and wages alike. For those already on the edge, every increase in cost pushes them closer to real hardship. Many households have cut back on heating, lighting, and even food portions to cope. Children are among the hardest hit. Across the UK, millions of children live in households that can't afford essentials like proper clothing, school supplies, or healthy meals. Teachers report students arriving at school hungry or unable to concentrate because they haven't eaten properly. Charities that once offered occasional support now serve as lifelines. Growing up in poverty doesn't just affect daily life, it shapes a child's chances for the future, influencing education, health, and even life expectancy. Another group disproportionately affected are people with disabilities. Living with a disability often comes with extra costs for transport, care, or energy needs, and the social security system doesn't always cover those additional burdens. Many disabled people find themselves trapped between inadequate benefits and limited employment opportunities, facing a daily struggle that most people rarely see. To understand how we got here, we need to look back at the structural changes in the UK economy. In the mid-20th century, the UK's industrial base provided steady, often unionised jobs that paid enough to support families and build communities. But from the 1980s onward, deindustrialization and globalization transformed the labour market. Many traditional industries, mining, manufacturing, shipbuilding, disappeared. The new jobs that replaced them were often in services, part-time, or less secure. For some regions, especially in the north of England, Wales, and parts of Scotland, the effects of that transition are still visible today. At the same time, economic growth became heavily concentrated in certain areas, especially London and the South East. This created a stark regional divide. While some regions thrived, others faced years of underinvestment, unemployment, and declining local services. The result is a patchwork country, a nation where affluence and deprivation can exist within miles, sometimes within the same town. The welfare system, which was designed to protect people from falling into hardship, has also changed. Over recent decades, reforms and budget cuts have tightened eligibility and reduced payments. Universal credit, intended to simplify benefits, has faced criticism for delays and sanctions that leave claimants without money for weeks. For those who rely on benefits whether they're in work or not, it often doesn't stretch far enough to cover the rising costs of everyday life. The safety net, once a source of stability, has too many holes. Education and opportunity play a huge role in shaping inequality. Children from low-income families often attend schools with fewer resources, and they face barriers that wealthier peers do not, from digital access to extracurricular opportunities. That gap in opportunity starts early and tends to grow over time, feeding a cycle of disadvantage that's hard to escape. By adulthood, differences in income, housing, and education solidify into long-term inequality. The irony is that all this is happening in one of the richest nations on earth. The UK has world-leading companies, global financial power, and massive private wealth. Yet at the same time, food banks have become a permanent part of community life. Volunteers distribute essentials while luxury developments rise nearby. It's a picture of a nation that has learned how to create wealth, but not how to share it fairly. Poverty doesn't just affect wallets, it affects health, dignity, and community. Studies show that people living in poverty are more likely to experience chronic illness, mental health struggles, and lower life expectancy. The stress of financial insecurity takes a toll on families, relationships, and social cohesion. It chips away at hope. When people can't see a path forward, when working harder doesn't improve their situation, it creates frustration and despair, feelings that echo across generations. But this isn't an unsolvable problem. There are ways forward. Addressing modern poverty means confronting structural issues, not just treating the symptoms. It means ensuring that work pays enough to live on, that housing is affordable, and that social security actually secures people in hard times. It means investing in education, local economies, and regional development so that opportunity isn't tied to where you were born. Raising wages, improving job security, and supporting workers through retraining can make a huge difference. So can investing in affordable homes, regulating rent increases, and restoring funding for local councils and public services. These are not abstract ideas, they're choices a society makes about fairness, dignity, and priorities. Ultimately, tackling poverty is about more than money. It's about the kind of country the UK wants to be. Do we accept a system where a few thrive while millions struggle, or do we build one where prosperity is shared more evenly? The answer will shape not only our economy, but our social fabric. The story of the UK is a story of innovation, courage, and resilience. It's a nation that has rebuilt itself through wars, recessions, and crises. So the existence of modern poverty is not inevitable, it's a policy outcome. The challenge now is moral and political, to ensure that the wealth of the nation serves all its people, not just the privileged few. Because a truly successful society is not measured only by how much wealth it creates, but by how fairly that wealth is shared and how it treats those who have the least. So next time you see the bright lights of the city skyline, remember, just beyond those lights, there are families making impossible choices. This is modern poverty in Britain, a country that built wealth and hardship side by side. Closing shot, soft music fades in. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep the conversation going. What do you think should be done to make the UK fairer for everyone? Leave your thoughts in the comments below.